It's Tuesday, September 10th. Right now on 12 News at 10.
I'm Bianca Bono in the newsroom. A now former Buckeye principal is no longer facing child sex crimes charges after the county attorney's office turned the case down. Tonight, we hear from a retired detective about what happens next.
I'm Gabriella Becerra in Phoenix. A toddler nearly drowned and doctors feared he wouldn't come off life support. Tonight, his mother is sharing his road to recovery.
The hottest days of the week are now behind us. Temperatures are going down as we near the weekend.
And on the heels of tonight's presidential debate, hear from both candidates on their plans for the border.
12 News at 10 with Mark Curtis and Caribe Divine starts now.
A Buckeye principal terminated after he was arrested for luring a minor for sexual exploitation is no longer facing charges. His arrest came after records showed a disturbing conversation that he had with someone he thought was a 12-year-old girl, but it was actually an undercover FBI agent. Good evening and thanks for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Troy Hayden. Caribe is off tonight. We are hearing from a retired internet crimes detective who weighs in on how challenging these cases can be to prosecute.
12 News journalist Bianca Bono joins us live in studio with more on what he had to say. Bianca?
Yeah, Mark, Troy, the messages allegedly exchanged by this now former principal with who he thought was a 12-year-old girl were incredibly explicit and sexual in nature. But the Maricopa County Attorney's Office turned the case down, raising the question, are those messages alone enough to warrant charges?
One internet predator can have up to 250 victims in their lifetime.
Rich Wistocki is a retired detective out of Illinois, and he worked in the Naperville Police Department's Internet Crimes Unit, an expert when it comes to child predators.
And this guy even admitted that he had talked to other people.
He's referring to Joseph Kinney, the now former Buckeye Union High School principal, arrested last week after he was at the center of an FBI investigation. Records 12 News shared with Wistocki show an undercover agent posed as a 12-year-old girl on a social media site called Whisper, and Kinney exchanged disturbing messages with them. Police say in their interview with Kinney, he admitted to talking to multiple girls online who claimed to be underage, including one person who said she was 9. But after Phoenix police submitted the case, recommending a charge of luring a minor for sexual exploitation, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office turned it down, saying there was no reasonable likelihood of conviction, and the case required evidence that the suspect intended to follow through and engage in sexual conduct.
They need to have more. They need to have a meeting set. They need to explain in detail what they're going to do to the child.
Records show Kinney claimed to officials he never actually believed the alleged minors he talked to were underage, describing it as role play or fantasy.
In these cases, you have to have a lot of elements to be sure to beat what's called the fantasy defense. On chat alone, it's not enough.
But it was enough for the Buckeye Union High School District Governing Board to terminate Kinney. On Tuesday, the superintendent confirming to 12 News the county attorney's office decision doesn't change anything, and Mr. Kinney will not be reemployed in the district. The FBI executed a search warrant at Kinney's home and seized his phone as evidence. Police also served a subpoena to Whisper for Kinney's subscriber information, leading Wistocki to believe the investigation is not over.
They denied it now. Doesn't mean they're going to deny it later.
And Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell has a regularly scheduled press conference for tomorrow where we do plan to ask her additional questions about her office's decision here. The Buckeye superintendent tells me they've already posted the position of interim principal on their website. We're live in studio tonight. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
Bianca, thanks. 5 suspects have been detained after some sort of a domestic dispute in Chandler today. Police say they responded to a call about a burglary in progress near Dobson and Ray Road about 10 a.m. Nearby schools were put on lockdown as precaution. SWAT teams responded with police and detained 5 suspects who were armed. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
If you get your power from SRP, you're going to be paying more for it. The company's announced a price hike coming up this fall, adding almost $5 a month to the average customer's bill. And SRP says the increase is to help make up for energy costs that they incurred during the COVID-19 pandemic when the company, quote, under-collected more than $300 million. The increased rates will take effect November 1st.
All right, time to get a look at your weather impact forecast with meteorologist Lindsay Riley. And Lynn, some changes on the way, and we're talking about in a good way.
Yeah, I think most people are going to like some of these changes. Our possibility at seeing some double-digit highs by early next week, but you'll definitely notice temperatures falling. Maybe not too much tomorrow because we're still looking at 109 for the high. But by this weekend, we're actually looking at below average temperatures, falling to 102 by Saturday and 100 degrees by Sunday. Here's a look at our 12 News exclusive monsoon meter for tomorrow. And it is a dry one. Even for the high country, zeros on the monsoon meter, not tracking storm chances tomorrow. It's going to be a bright, sunny, and still very warm day tomorrow, but then we'll start to notice things later in the week. We're sitting at 98 right now in Phoenix, 81 in Page, and 84 in Safford. Temperatures falling into the 80s tonight around 2 o'clock in the morning. Out the door tomorrow morning, we start off in the low 80s at 7 a.m., but those highs once again knocking on the door of 110 tomorrow, but a big improvement by the weekend. Troy.
Lindsay, thank you. Despite long odds, an Arizona toddler is recovering after nearly drowning in a small pond this summer. 12 News journalist Gabriella Becerra speaks with his mother about their tragic journey, one no parent wants to take.
Sebastian is just days away from turning 2 years old, a birthday his mother Denitza Maldonado is grateful for, a birthday doctors weren't confident he'd reach.
If I had not held on to God the entire time, I don't think that I would have been able to do it.
Maldonado's world turned upside down 6 weeks ago on a vacation in Oceanside, California. Her son crawled through a doggy door of the house they were staying in and fell into a small pond in the backyard.
I was screaming, but I didn't feel like I was in my body, but I could hear myself screaming.
Medics at a nearby fire training center could hear Maldonado's screams, rushing over and working to restart the toddler's heart.
He was without a pulse for 30 minutes.
Sebastian was taken to Rady Children's Hospital in San Diego, where Maldonado says doctors told her Sebastian would never breathe on his own again.
And I said, I just want him to be a normal kid and grow up and ride a bike and get married and do all these things. And the doctor said he'll never do that.
But Maldonado never lost hope, and Sebastian never stopped fighting. The toddler was transported to Phoenix Children's Hospital, where Maldonado says a ventilator was removed and Sebastian did breathe on his own again.
Once we started the normobaric oxygen therapy, it was a few days, and suddenly his eyes opened.
After more than a month in the pediatric ICU, Sebastian finally went home this week.
And he's already swallowing, sucking. He'll eat ice chips. He communicates with us, he'll kick and he'll grunt if he's upset. He'll smile if he's, happy.
But the road to recovery is far from over. Sebastian will soon start hyperbaric oxygen therapy in Tucson and physical therapy after that. Both therapies Maldonado believes are promising and hopes will allow Sebastian to live a normal life.
I know he'll make a recovery. I don't know if he'll make a full recovery. Absolutely don't know that. There's no way for me to know that, but I do know that my son is fighting very hard to come back.
Gabriella Becerra, 12 News.
And 12 News is dedicated to keeping you and your family safe around water through our Water Watch campaign. You can find life-saving tips, resources, and you can do that right now at 12news.com/waterwatch.